Today we're going to be testing out drawing materials. We will have 6 stations around the room for you to try out the materials. At the first table, the yellow table, you will try just regular markers. I want you to see how brightly they color, how solidly they color, how big the line is, how the colors mix. I want you to try a bunch of things out and see if you like the material, what you would use it for, and what you might not like about the material. For markers, I noticed that I like how bright they are, but I don't like how I can't get lights and dark with them. They also don't draw very thin, and you can't mix the colors together well. But I do really like how bright the markers are and how well you can see them from far away, and also how solid they are. Unless they get dried out, they just don't work very well once they're dried out. At the next table, the orange table, you're going to play with crayons. What I like about crayons is that I have so many different colors to use. I have lights and darks of every color I could imagine, and so many pinks and blues. I also know that it's not ever going to run out because the crayon will color forever. I don't really like how it always looks bumpy, unless that's something I'm going for. But man, the colors do mix together well when I color them together. Next up is the oil pastel table, or the blue table. Oil pastels are bright like markers, but they still have that bumpy texture of crayons. Ooh, they mix together really well. I love blending the colors together with oil pastel. But you cannot get tiny lines at all with the oil pastels. They are thick and they don't like to have details. After oil pastels, I'm heading to the purple table, or the colored pencil table. So the colored pencils have the tiniest lines, which can be really good if I want to draw details, but not so good if I want to color in large areas. They're kind of bright, not super bright, but I definitely have more color choices than I do with the oil pastels or the markers. And the colors mix together pretty well with the colored pencils too. After the colored pencils, I'm heading to the red table for the texture plates. This is how I use a texture plate. I stick it under the paper and then I color on top of it. I recommend using a harder material to color on because the hard makes the bumps show. If I'm using marker or oil pastel, it's not going to work as well as the colored pencil or the crayon. So try it both out, see what you think, and think about when you would use these textures in your artwork. Do you have a large area that you're going to color in solid? You could use the texture plates to make it a little bit more interesting. And the last table, the green table, I'm going to be using stencils. Stencils are super handy when you need to draw a shape very exactly. So we have a bunch of shape stencils and you can use them to draw perfect circles, triangles, or squares. It's actually pretty impossible to draw a perfect circle without a tool like this, so it's really handy to have. We also have the alphabet stencils and the rulers to help you draw straight lines. Play with these and see when you think you might use them in your artwork in the future. Please notice that the markers have kind of a hard time fitting into the smaller holes, and the oil pastels don't work with this at all because it's just too smushy and messy. Crayons have a hard time fitting too, so really colored pencils, markers are okay. Some things just work better with the stencils. Try them out, see what you think. Now that you've tried all these different materials, which ones were your favorite, least favorite? What do you think you're going to use in the future, and what would you use them for? Make intentional choices when deciding which materials you're going to use when making your art projects.